Athletic did a player poll of all-stars over the weekend. Victor Wembanyama was voted most likely to be the best player in the league the next 5 years. So listen.
You mean in 5 years?
I'm sorry, in 5 years to be the best player in the league. That's an important clarification. Some odd results, but also some things that make sense. Evan Mobley shocked me by getting 2 votes.
I like him, but best
I assume one of those 2 votes is from Evan Mobley, but I'm curious who the other one is. The field got 2, Cade, Tatum, Shea, Anthony Edwards.
Like the Cade.
And then a fellow who's in the G League right now is 18 years old, who I don't want to make fun of. He has a unique name, but he got a vote. Brew, I mean, I feel like this is obvious again, but you agree with these results, right?
It's obvious because it's obvious. I mean, I'd be shocked if either of you says it's not going to be Victor Wembanyama. All right? This dude, first of all, the team should be good. They're going to have De'Aaron Fox.
Be better this year.
Stephon Castle looks like he's got a future, and he's in a great organization that should know how to build around him. He's already at 21, putting up 24 points, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks a game. He's already the best defensive player in the league. By 26, he will have his man body. Look at the growth, and it doesn't automatically mean he's going to grow like this, but look at Giannis's body as a 21-year-old or early in the league to now. Well, if he has 70% of that, once he gets his man body and can post, he doesn't have the strength yet to really post. I mean, he's going to be unstoppable. His jump shot will improve. It's already pretty good. He's shooting 35% from 3. I think they're figuring out how to use him because even to me, it's like, okay, how do you exactly use him because he can do so much? So Nick, this dude.
Well, you are assuming the idea that he's going to get to, as far as physically, even 50% of Giannis is something I don't know that I agree with. But
he'll get stronger.
I don't think
he'll get stronger?
Some guys do, some guys don't. You mentioned Giannis. I'd mention the guy who I think he modeled his game after, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is the same guy who at the NBA Combine didn't put up 135 one time on the bench and didn't care and just been busting ass in the league for almost 20 years. Listen, Wemby is unquestionably a hard worker, but so is Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? It just depends on what you're working on.
Try to necessarily put on weight. And
right, but I don't.
And he plays exclusively on the perimeter.
So I am not anti-Wemby. I want to make this clear. Just like Brew has.
You got to know. If you're a no, you what else?
No, I think Wemby, a guy who got 0 votes would be my vote. My answer is Luka. He will be 30 years old, which is usually your peak starts usually around 27, 28. He will, I think, I do not look at NBA impact, and I don't think you do either, as 50% of your value is determined by your defense, 50% determined by your offense. That's not how. There's a reason there's an all-defense team and an all-star team. And so I think that Luka is going to be such a far better offensive player throughout his entirety of his prime than Wemby, that I think that, this is where I think Wemby is arguably the best defensive player in the league right now and inarguably will be down the road. I think he probably is right now. I think it's hard when you're on a bad team to really see the full scope of your impact, but he's probably the best defensive player in the league. But I would take Luka at his prime over Wemby entering his prime, and you are assigning more faith in the Spurs than I think right now they've earned post-Duncan, to be totally honest. And at 5 years, Pop, who we all love, who's going through some health stuff, you know what I mean? He's probably not going to be, hands-on the organization. So I don't know that I think they're going to be as seamless organizationally. So my answer would be Luka, with Wemby coming in second.
I want to address the Luka, but if you want to go.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brew. It's Wemby. And I get it from a Luka standpoint of how he's come into the league and where he is currently, and then 5 years from now, offensively, he just gets better, more in shape, more locked in.
Yeah.
I totally subscribe to that. However, when I talk to people that are in that San Antonio organization, this kid's work ethic and his mentality is different. And I know we don't see it because it's only year 2. He's just into year 2, halfway through it. But 5 years from now, what he's already come into this league doing offensively, we know who he is defensively. And even if he doesn't put on size, which I do think he's going to put on more size because he plays in and out. And if he starts to play downhill with the skill set that he already possesses, there's no one that can stop him now. 5 years from now, when he is 7 years in the league and he's been dominating at a high level, he's already been to all-star games. Like, this kid there's no defending him.
Go ahead, Brew.
Well, I would say about Luka. Number one, and I agree, obviously offense, defense isn't 50-50. But the defense is important. It's a huge part of why Giannis is arguably, I would take Jokic. I think we all take Jokic. But Giannis is second best player in the world, or arguably the first to some people.
Because of
his defense.
No
and
doubt.
He's not Wemby defensively. So Luka is a negative defender. And maybe he'll get better at it. Maybe. I think he'll be better in spurts, in the playoffs here and there. But he's never going to be like maybe even a good defender. Teams will hunt him. We'll see that in the playoffs. They're going to be hunting Luka on defense. Secondly, the conditioning has been a problem. Now, we all think LeBron's influence is going to have a great deal of impact on him. But let's see. 5 years from now, if he doesn't start taking better care of his body, whether he goes a little downhill, he might not go uphill. Like, he might just be what he is now, which has been great. But he might not improve.
The idea that maybe he reached his prime earlier because he was a pro since he was 16, and I buy that. I understand. I don't necessarily, and I know you're not saying that definitively, but the fact that that's on the board, I think that's fair. But I also think this is fair. Wemby is electric. He's unique. Whenever you watch him, you feel like the sky's the limit. All of that. What's also true is this. Luka was a better player at year 2 than Wemby is. Luka in year 2 carried a team, similar talent to the playoffs. Luka was first-team All-NBA. Wemby might be, I don't know. Luka was already an MVP candidate. He was not. You talked about the series the other day.
Yep.
He was in a series with Kawhi and Paul George at their, apex, and was the best player in that series, and they lost in 6 games and did not have a great roster around him. So I just think that we can say that, Wemby has a higher upside, and their rookie years, I think, were somewhat equivalent-ish. I think Luka's was better. And I think Luka's year 2 was better than Wemby's year 2 was.
But by that logic, you could say his year 2 was better than LeBron's. But he's not better than LeBron.
Well,
LeBron didn't even get his team into the playoffs his second year.
No, that's fair, but I can only compare Luka to Wemby as far as the steps Wemby's been on. If Luka then's year 3 and 4 and 5 were better than LeBron, then that would have been a discussion. But LeBron, year 4, took his team to the finals and did those things. I think that and I also think the conditioning thing, he was 33-9-9 in the conference finals 6 months ago.
I'm talking about over time. If he doesn't start taking care of his body 5 years
from
now.
But don't you feel like that really falls into the same bucket of concern of, man, all the 7-4 guys in league history have dealt with injuries.
Yeah.
It's something
I don't think so, because Wemby hasn't had even a hint of that throughout his career.
So to your point of Luka coming into the league and dominating right away. I feel like with the Spurs, Wemby was never given that opportunity to just say, go, Wemby, be the guy right out the gate. We talked about this offset a lot. He was fighting that, and I don't think he had the same personality that Luka had. You talked about Luka's swag, mentioned it yesterday. Luka has a different type of swag, and I think coming into the league, being a young player and being more passive and being more open to fitting in versus this is my team coming into San Antonio and I'm going to do it the way that I want to do it. That's not been Wemby's approach. Eventually he will get there, and once that switch turns on, it's no turning off.
I'd add this quickly, and as much as I'm saying, and I think we're going to get into it next, Luka has to have the ball in his hands. that can be a weakness, though. And I think going forward, Luka will theoretically learn how to play more off the ball. But that style has not really won championships in the NBA. So I think Wemby his game is much more conducive to playing 5-man basketball versus me having to have the ball and do everything.
So there's another minute here. That I agree with that. The flip side to that is that style is also, though, you are more at the mercy of your point guard. You know what I mean? To where as all big men are, where if you don't have the right guy,
he won't be like it's not like a Kareem.
No,
Giannis,
of course.
But
the other, let me just ask this before we move on. I don't necessarily, I understand, like, it's like make the playoffs, miss the playoffs feels binary, but then we also know there's sometimes, like, you make the playoffs. Jordan in year 2, the team won 30. Jordan missed the whole year, wasn't his fault, but they won 30 games. They made the playoffs. Bron in year 2, they missed. I think they were dead at 500, but they weren't good enough. So it's not so much about where they are in the playoff standings. I have been disappointed that the Spurs are not winning half their games.
Yeah.
And, like, that to me is, like, going into this year, Brew, I thought that based off the power of Wemby, they would be not a contender at all, but they wouldn't be sitting at 20 wins at the break.
Well, the West is much tougher than the East. Like East, West is much tougher. But I also think, and I said it earlier, they're still figuring out how to best use him. Like, because he can do so many things. I don't want him playing like Kevin, as great as Durant is. I don't want him being Kevin Durant.
Me neither.
Yeah,
he's not the shooter. He'll never be the shooter Durant.
And he should be inside a lot too.
All right, moving on to Luka. Lakers are currently scoring about 113 points per game. That's 14th in the league. Athletics Jovan Buha does a great job. Thinks these numbers need to go way up for a title run. He's correct. Saying LA should push to be a top 3 offense that gives them a chance to earn home court advantage, in the first round of the playoffs. Brew, do you buy that the Lakers could not finish the season ranked in the top 3, but as far as the remainder, moving forward, be a top 3 offense? You understand what I mean? Like, if we pretend, if it starts now.
Well, right now, I think Jovan's logic is that, defensively, they're going to struggle.
Yep.
And teams, we said they'll hunt Luka, they're going to hunt Austin Reeves. LeBron can't lock people down for 40 minutes like he used to. So, and then inside, of course, they lack the size. So it's like, they got to score. And they do have scores. Rui can play,
and
especially as a fourth option.
He's having a great shooting year.
Yeah. Austin is a very good third option. Obviously, you got LeBron and Luka. And Luka's going to draw so much attention, as does LeBron, that guys should get open looks. I think top 3 is a little high. I think they could get to top 5. And, that gives them a shot. But the one thing, like, the top offenses generally have, not all of them, but
ton of shooting.
three-point shooting. And, so, like, the Cavs are number 1. They shoot it great from 3. The Lakers don't have quite that, but it'll go up a little. They got rid of Anthony Davis. They got Luka, who's a better three-point shooter. So, but I think they could get to top 5.
Yeah, top 5 is more realistic. I don't think they're going to be as bad defensively as people think they will.
How come?
Because when you play with an all-time great and he's on his way out, you naturally see more effort. And with the trade happening and Luka coming over, he understands, like, I can't be all that version. I'm not saying he's a great defender. I don't think he's going to be a great defender. We know who he is as an offensive player, and he can put up a lot of points, but he's going to have to give more effort because of what you're talking about. Teams hunting him and him trying to lean on playing the guy that's not going to get the ball. Well, LeBron was doing that. They're going to hunt Austin Reeves. Somebody has to play defense. Yep. You can't just decide I'm not playing defense because they need me offensively. Well, you got LeBron James too, so you got to play defense.
I just wonder if it's going to work the other way, where if we're going to see a far lesser LeBron offensively. And that he is going to be, yes. Like, again, I'm not, it's just me. I don't think Luka, I think LeBron, if it was like, put all your effort into defense, all of it. Don't worry about offense at all. I think not only could he be an above-average defender, I think he'd be an excellent defender. But at this age, I think if that's where it was like, we need no points from you. You know what I mean? You can do a few years ago the Thunder asked Lou Dort to do. You know what I mean? Just be that. Obviously, that's far too extreme. But I think that you are going to see, because LeBron's going to know, like, they're going to attack Luka and Austin. I'm going to, he's a better defender even at 40 than either of those guys. DFS and Vanderbilt's an excellent defender.
Yeah,
DFS is good. And so I think LeBron's going to be better on that end. But regardless, I think that if you are getting peak Luka, which I think you're going to get in short order once he's back in, playing shape and his cap's better, I think you're automatically a top 6 offense. I just think that's what his history, his career shows you.
I think they've been one time, they've been in the top 5 with him.
Well, 1 year, I don't know if it was second or third year.
They were high. Yeah,
it was the best.
They were first.
They were the first in league history that year, but now every year that record is broken.
He's been 9th, 15th, 6th, and then 10th last year.
And so that's a fair point. I think Luka and LeBron will be a great offense, and the question is, are they going to net out as average because great offense, awful defense, or great offense, average defense, which it can be a
remember,
contender.
their defense have been good. I'll throw out the Jazz game, but the defense has been good for the last month. And look, LeBron, as unselfish a player as he is, he does like his numbers.
Oh,
so he's not about to go score 15 points a game.
Well, here's what we know. We know.
He gonna get his numbers.
We know that he's always going to make sure the first energy goes to getting to that 10th point, and then we can figure the rest out. But that double-digit scoring streak is going to last till the last day of his career. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.